In 2021, after a disappointing end of the season for the New York Mets, where they ended third in the NL East after only getting 77 wins, the Mets went into the offseason and owner Steve Cohen displayed his willingness to spend money on the roster, and they made some huge signings in free agency. The Mets would start the offseason off by bringing in third baseman Eduardo Escobar to a 2-year, $20 million contract. Escobar was coming off a season where he had a 109 OPS plus and he batted .253 with a .314 on-base percentage and a .472 slug. They followed this up by bringing in two Oakland A outfielders in Mark Canha and Starling Marte. Canha got signed to a 2-year deal after putting up on a 111 OPS plus and posting 2.6 RWAR. Starling Marte spent half a season in Miami and the back half in Oakland, where he posted a career-high .310 batting average and a 132 OPS plus while stealing 47 bases. Then came the two big pitching additions of the offseason for the Mets, where they brought in three-time Cy Young Max Scherzer, who's coming off a 2.46 ERA season with the Nationals and Dodgers. The other big pitching addition was Chris Bassett from the Oakland A's, who had a 3.15 ERA in 2021. The Mets were the outright winners of the offseason and looked geared to have a great 2022 season, which they did. The Mets would win 101 games, but not win their division, as they would blow a 10.5 game lead as of June 1st, 2022, to the Atlanta Braves, who would beat them by the series tiebreaker as they beat the Mets 10 times to the Mets 9. This was extremely disappointing from the Mets, and it wouldn't help that they would be kicked out of the playoffs by the Padres, who went on to the NLCS. Going into the offseason, the Mets didn't back down as they would spend lots of money once again. They would build one of the best 1-2 punches in the MLB by adding reigning AL Cy Young winner Justin Verlander to their rotation, alongside Max Scherzer and two new signings, Kodai Senga from the KBO and Jose Quintana from the St. Louis Cardinals. These three signings alone made the Mets the winner of the offseason, but they also splashed the cash by keeping Edwin Diaz and Brandon Nimmo in town, both inking deals that gave them each $20 million a season. They'd also bring in catcher Omar Narvaez from the Milwaukee Brewers as well to finish off their offseason. Once again, the Mets looked like the winners of the offseason and had taken their role as the top spenders in the MLB, with their number one payroll beating crosstown rivals the New York Yankees. The Mets wouldn't even stop their spending on their players, as they also put a 17,000 square foot scoreboard in their stadium as well. It was safe to say the Mets spent a lot on their team this season and expected big things, but so far, we haven't seen much good coming out of New York, and it's scary. To start, the Mets are currently 4th in the NL East, 16 games back from the division leaders, the Atlanta Braves, and are still 8.5 games out of the third wildcard spot as well, as they sit 35 and 43. Now, a lot of fans wonder, how are the New York Mets doing so bad? Is it because they are the New York Mets and they are cursed? Sad to say for Mets fans, that might be true, but I would blame it more on their pitching staff so far this season. Looking at the Mets starters, they only have two regular starting pitchers that have posted below a 4 ERA, and that's Kodai Senga, who has a 3.52 ERA, and Max Scherzer, who has a 3.95. Everyone else in their rotation has above a 4 ERA, including one of their top signings this past season, Justin Verlander. Looking at Justin Verlander's Baseball Savant page and looking at the pitch values, you can see the extreme drop-off of his fastball. His fastball has looked off so far this season, and it went from one of the best pitches in all of baseball to only an average to below average pitch, which is definitely the reason Verlander has struggled so far this season. Verlander hasn't been the only struggling pitcher, as Tyler Miguel has a 5.17 ERA, along with Carlos Carrasco, who has a 6.19, and David Peterson, who has an 8.08. They are also missing their new signing Jose Quintana, so that is also a hit to their rotation. The staff is just not doing good at all, and you can accommodate this by finding that the Mets have the 7th worst whip, which is followed up by letting the 4th most homers allowed, which is why they have a negative 16 run differential while having a league average offense, and these two things are not going to be able to put up any success on the field. Due to the struggling product on the field, it's hard to say what the Mets should do at this year's offseason, as they are locked into a lot of big money contracts and have very little deals expiring after this season. And that's why I think the Mets are locked in to just keep trying to turn this ship around, and maybe their owner Steve Cohen will continue to open up his checkbook and we could see the Mets somehow still be buyers at this deadline. But we know one thing we'll definitely probably see some more is big Mets signings this coming free agency, which is why even if they miss the playoffs this season, you can expect the Mets to hopefully stay contending in the future. But one way to sum up the Mets season so far is in a game versus the Rays on May 21st. In the 6th inning, the Mets were down 7-1 when a picture of the Rays logo would be displayed all over the Mets' brand new scoreboard from the past offseason. With that being said, I'm going to end the video here. Make sure to leave your opinions on the Mets' current season down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.